welcome to today's deep dive. If you manage a facility or oversee IT infrastructure,
Or even if you're simply responsible for making sure the doors actually lock when everyone goes home.
yeah, exactly. If that's you, the stack of sources we are looking at today is going to be incredibly relevant to your operations.
Highly relevant.
We are examining commercial security pricing guides,
Yeah.
some IT installation manuals that are specifically focused on biometric systems, and the major locksmith industry trend reports projected for 2025.
And we also have some wild stuff.
Oh, man, yeah. We even pulled transcripts from real-world field locksmiths dealing with some remarkably complex physical security failures.
It is a very practical mix of information today. We are looking at that exact friction point where cutting-edge enterprise network security collides with the very physical reality of a broken door hinge.
Right. And that collision is exactly what forms the core mission of our deep dive today. We're talking about layered security and why installing a standalone access control system is just, well, it's never going to be enough.
Not anymore.
Putting a keycard reader or, keypad on your front door is a solid first step for protecting a business. But if you look across all these distinct security disciplines in our sources, there is absolute consensus on one thing.
Right. No single system provides complete protection.
Exactly. But before we get into the actual mechanics of building those layers, I do want to mention that today's deep dive is sponsored by West Point Locksmith.
A great resource.
Truly. If you are located in the Los Angeles area and you are auditing your current security setup, West Point Locksmith is the fast, reliable, and professional choice to help you upgrade. They are available 24/7, boasting stellar 5-star reviews for keeping homes, businesses, and vehicles secure. You can reach them anytime at 390-295-4040. So to kick us off and establish a baseline, how do the sources actually define layered security in a modern commercial context?
Well, layered security is the strategic deployment of multiple distinct security tools. And that spans physical hardware, electronic access, and digital software.
All working together.
Right. They are actively designed to function in tandem. The underlying philosophy here is defense in depth. If an unauthorized individual or even just a technological glitch manages to bypass your first perimeter, there is an entirely independent system functioning right behind it.
To catch the issue.
Exactly, to halt the progression or alert your monitoring team. Relying on a siloed system, I don't care how much you spent on it, leaves an unacceptable vulnerability.
And to illustrate why that vulnerability is so critical in the real world, let's look at that transcript we pulled from a working locksmith named Wayne Winton.
That story is wild.
It's crazy. So he was called out to a commercial building in a really remote location, about a 2-hour drive away, in the middle of the night. The business was totally locked out.
Completely shut down.
Yeah, and the situation was so dire, they agreed to a $1,000 emergency fee just to get him on site.
Which, a fee like that immediately signals a systemic breakdown, not just somebody losing a key.
Right, it was a complete operational failure. So the business had this set of commercial double doors. The primary mechanical parts of the door were just failing. The cylinder was spinning loosely in its housing, and the interior mechanical paddle.
The part that actually retracts the latch so you can exit the building?
Exactly, that part was shattered. But a previous technician, rather than just replacing the broken mechanical hardware, attempted to solve a physical problem with an electronic workaround.
Never a good idea.
No. The door was equipped with an electronic maglock system, and the tech simply programmed the maglock into passage mode.
Which instructs the electromagnet to remain deactivated. It completely strips the door of its electronic security function.
Right, which makes you wonder why they even bothered calling a technician instead of just propping the door open with a brick. It accomplishes the exact same thing, but doesn't cost an hourly rate.
Seriously.
But the situation cascaded because the door frame itself was rotted, and the hinges were so badly warped that the double doors eventually overlapped and completely jammed.
Wow.
Yeah, the employees couldn't get in from the outside, and they wouldn't have been able to get out from the inside.
Yeah.
It turned into a $1,000 nightmare because the facility managers relied on a misconfigured electronic system to compensate for failing physical infrastructure.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, that scenario perfectly illustrates why physical hardware and electronic access must be properly layered and maintained together, not used as band-aids for one another.
Yeah, you can't just slap tech over a rotting door.
Exactly. You can install the most sophisticated biometric scanner on the market, but if the door's hinges are warping and the latch is failing, your digital layer is completely irrelevant. They have to function in harmony.
Okay, Let's unpack this, because getting the physical door to reliably lock and unlock with a credential is only the first step, right? An access control system, whether it's a proximity fob, a mobile credential, or a biometric scanner, is highly effective at managing who is authorized to enter. It acts as a sort of network firewall for your physical space.
That's a good way to put it.
But consider the building you work in right now. If you swipe your badge, the reader flashes red, and you decide to just pry the door open with a tool, the access control system only logs a credential denied error. It doesn't have eyes to see the actual physical breach.
And that is precisely why combining your access control with a video management system, or VMS, is a non-negotiable layer for enterprise security.
It's mandatory.
It really is. The access control logs the transactional data, but the closed-circuit television provides the verifiable visual context. The commercial guides highlight this integration heavily. For instance, our sponsor, West Point Locksmith, specializes in integrating access control systems directly with these video platforms.
And the technical mechanics of that integration are what make it so incredibly valuable. You aren't just running two separate systems. You are linking the database of the card reader to the timestamp of the camera. So every time a credential is authenticated or denied, the camera automatically bookmarks that exact second of video. If you have an incident, your security team doesn't have to scrub through 8 boring hours of empty hallway footage.
Which nobody wants to do.
Nobody. They just click the log entry, and the specific video clip plays instantly.
It creates an undeniable visual audit trail. Furthermore, the hardware facilitating this has matured significantly.
Oh, absolutely.
The sources detail systems like Avigilon Alta, which utilize triple unlock technology. This is a redundant approach that relies on Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, and cellular signals simultaneously.
So it's foolproof.
Pretty close. If the local network goes down, the system fails over to cellular or localized Bluetooth proximity to ensure the mobile credential still functions seamlessly without any latency.
The interoperability of that hardware is also a major focus in the IT manuals we looked at. They emphasize the importance of ONVIF compliance.
Yes, that's a big term in the industry right now.
For anyone making purchasing decisions out there, ONVIF is an open industry standard that allows access control hardware to communicate natively with existing video surveillance networks.
All right.
Regardless of the manufacturer.
Right, you aren't trapped.
Exactly. You are no longer locked into one proprietary walled garden ecosystem where you have to buy the exact same brand of camera as your door reader.
And breaking that vendor lock-in allows organizations to build much more effective layers. Plus, the cameras themselves are evolving from passive recording devices into active analytical tools.
The AI stuff.
Yeah, the CSI security materials dive deep into AI-enhanced video analytics. The system isn't just looking for pixel changes anymore. It is utilizing behavioral tagging.
Which is wild.
It is. It can differentiate between a stray animal crossing the parking lot and a human loitering near a restricted loading dock for more than 5 minutes, and it flags that specific anomaly for review.
But think about the implications of that for your facility after hours. It's 3 a.m., the building is dark, and the perimeter is totally empty. Even if your AI cameras are perfectly categorizing a forced entry attempt, what tangible good does it do if your security manager is asleep and won't see the alert until they check their email at 7 a.m.? Which brings us to alarm systems and motion detection as the next indispensable layer. Visual verification provides the evidence, but you require an active deterrent and an immediate response mechanism when the facility is unoccupied.
Right.
The sources outline a methodology called a virtual guard perimeter system.
It sounds highly theoretical, but the operational deployment is actually very straightforward. It integrates the AI streaming cameras we just discussed with automated high-lumen motion lighting and live remote guard monitoring.
So if the AI tags an individual loitering by the exterior fence line, it instantly triggers floodlights to eliminate the tactical advantage of darkness. And at the same time, it opens a live video feed to a 24/7 monitoring center. The primary objective is to actively disrupt the intrusion before the individual ever makes physical contact with the building.
There's an operational efficiency angle to this as well. You are replacing passive forensic tools with active preventative measures.
And there's a massive financial angle to this too. In the Safe and Sound Security Pricing Guide, they completely reframe the cost argument.
Yes, the insurance discount.
Right. You might be calculating the capital expenditure of access control, AI cameras, and virtual guard monitoring, and seeing this massive upfront cost. However, the pricing guide outlines that deploying a comprehensive, interconnected system can reduce a commercial building's insurance premiums by 5 to 15%.
Because actuaries and underwriters base their models on risk mitigation. When you can demonstrate verifiable active defense mechanisms that dramatically lower the probability of a catastrophic loss, the premiums adjust accordingly.
That 5 to 15% reduction in annual operational expenditure can often cover the lease on the security equipment itself. It shifts layered security from being a necessary evil or just a sunk safety cost into a highly optimized long-term financial strategy with a demonstrable ROI.
It completely changes how facility managers should be pitching these upgrades to their finance departments. It is an investment in risk reduction and operational efficiency.
Speaking of professional upgrades, we're going to take a brief pause to remind you about our sponsor, West Point Locksmith. As you can likely tell from our discussion today, deploying these interconnected systems requires a very high level of technical proficiency.
You cannot just hire someone to drill a hole in a door anymore.
Definitely not. If you are in the Los Angeles area, West Point Locksmith offers comprehensive, full-service commercial security solutions. Whether you need an emergency rekeying or you have to ensure your commercial panic bars and mag locks are strictly up to fire code compliance, or you are looking to integrate a brand new smart lock network with your existing access control, they are the specialists you really need.
They do it all.
They maintain stellar 5-star reviews because they execute flawlessly. They are available 24/7 at 310-295-4040. To secure your home, your business, or even get emergency car key replacements, call West Point Locksmith at 310-295-4040.
So, returning to our layers of security, we have to address what is universally considered the most unpredictable and vulnerable vector in any facility's operational model.
Transient access, the human element.
Exactly. The daily friction of managing people who do not work for you but absolutely need to be inside your building.
If you manage a bustling commercial space, you understand this nightmare. You have HVAC contractors needing roof access, delivery drivers dropping off secure pallets, auditors visiting for a week, and candidates coming in for interviews.
Yeah.
How do you provision access for 50 temporary visitors a week without issuing permanent credentials that inevitably get lost, stolen, or taken home?
What's fascinating here is the maturation of visitor management systems. This is a critical administrative layer. If you lack a structured methodology for tracking and restricting temporary guests, you lose all chain of custody.
Right.
You leave your facility completely vulnerable to tailgating, where an unauthorized individual simply catches a door behind a distracted delivery driver.
For a facility manager, the technology addressing this friction point completely eliminates the credential recovery phase of offboarding. We examined a few specific deployments in the smart lock reviews. There is a Philips Wi-Fi commercial lock that utilizes cloud-based infrastructure to let an administrator issue one-time self-expiring PA no codes.
It's brilliant.
You just text the plumbing contractor a unique code, they input at the side entrance, the door unlocks, and that specific digital hash immediately self-destructs. It can never be utilized again.
It completely mitigates the risk of that contractor passing their access code to a third party or returning unannounced 3 weeks later.
And then you have enterprise hardware from companies like Lockly, which engineer offline access codes. Even if your facility experiences a localized network outage and the door readers lose connection to the central server, the cryptographic algorithm allows you to still generate a secure, time-bound code for a visitor that the lock will locally authenticate.
And when we elevate this concept to the enterprise workforce level, the integrations become even more structural. The IT Biometric Security Manual from MyShift.com details how modern access control must fundamentally integrate with a company's human resources platforms and workforce management databases.
This is where we stop treating the door reader as an isolated device and start treating it as a node on the HR network.
Precisely. Consider a large-scale manufacturing plant with hundreds of shift workers. Historically, a security manager had to manually activate and deactivate keycards as employees were hired or fired.
A total headache.
Right. But now, the access control system queries the HR database via an API. It automatically provisions access for an employee strictly during their scheduled shift window.
Wow.
The minute their shift concludes, their access rights are suspended. If an employee is terminated in the HR system at 2 p.m., their badge is instantly dead at all perimeter doors by 2:01 p.m. It entirely automates accountability and closes the vulnerability gap of delayed offboarding.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though, because as we connect our physical door hardware to cloud-based HR databases, Wi-Fi networks, and mobile applications, we are opening a profoundly different attack vector. The modern threat actor isn't always showing up in the middle of the night with bolt cutters. Sometimes they are executing scripts from a laptop 3,000 miles away.
That brings us to the most complex, invisible layer of our infrastructure, cybersecurity.
The 2025 Locksmith Industry Trends Report dedicates a massive section to this specific vulnerability. As our perimeter defense devices transition into smart, internet-connected IoT devices, securing the digital network becomes equally as critical as securing the physical deadbolt.
It does.
The report states unequivocally that facility managers must begin treating their smart locks and door controllers exactly as they treat their network servers.
It requires a fundamental paradigm shift in lifecycle maintenance. The days of installing a commercial lock and ignoring it for 15 years are over.
You have to establish rigorous patch management. You must deploy routine firmware updates to the door controllers. You have to enforce complex password hygiene on the administrative dashboards. And the 2025 Trend Report specifically highlights the necessity of network monitoring to defend against sophisticated techniques like replay attacks.
A replay attack is a highly targeted digital exploit. An attacker sits near your facility's entrance with a packet sniffer.
Just lurking.
Basically, yeah. When a legitimate employee walks up and their smartphone sends the encrypted Bluetooth low-energy handshake to the door reader to unlock it, the attacker intercepts and records that wireless transmission.
They don't even need to decrypt it, right?
No, they aren't deciphering the encryption at all. They are simply recording the audio of the digital conversation, so to speak. They can then return at 3 a.m., transmit that exact recorded signal from their laptop, and trick the door reader into believing the authorized employee has returned.
That is terrifying.
Yeah.
If your security integrator doesn't deeply understand network encryption protocols, rolling codes, and digital certificate validation, your $50,000 physical security perimeter is completely defenseless against a guy with a $100 Wi-Fi antenna.
The Biometric IT Guide reinforces this convergence of physical and digital security. It explicitly details that if you are deploying fingerprint scanners or facial recognition terminals, you must integrate that hardware with enterprise identity management platforms, such as Microsoft Active Directory.
Right.
For anyone outside the IT department, Active Directory is essentially the master organizational chart that dictates exactly who works at a company and what specific digital or physical assets they have permission to access.
Because when you start scanning fingerprints, you are no longer just managing access. You are managing highly sensitive, personally identifiable information, or PII.
And that introduces heavy legal and regulatory compliance layers. The manual explicitly cites the necessity of adhering to privacy frameworks like the California Consumer Privacy Act, the CCPA. Biometric templates must be cryptographically hashed and stored on encrypted servers.
They can't just be sitting in a plain text folder.
No, absolutely not. If your physical security vendor leaves the biometric database unencrypted on a localized server and your network is breached, it is no longer just a physical security incident. It is a massive data breach, triggering legal liabilities, mandatory public disclosures, and severe financial penalties. The digital architecture is truly the final invisible layer of physical security.
It fundamentally changes how you have to evaluate your vendors and your internal processes. So what does this all mean for you as you review your own facility's readiness? The definitive takeaway from analyzing these commercial pricing guides, the IT biometrics manuals, and the 2025 industry forecast is this.
The strongest security strategy doesn't rely on just one technology.
Exactly. It is about intentionally combining multiple layers of protection. You need resilient physical hardware, integrated access control, AI-powered visual verification, active alarm systems, structured visitor management, and rigorous cybersecurity protocols to create a smarter, deeply resilient system.
You are engineering an ecosystem where every single layer actively supports, verifies, and provides redundancy for the others.
Before we conclude, I want to give one final shout out to our sponsor, West Point Locksmith. If you are operating in Los Angeles and you realize your current security infrastructure is relying on a single point of failure, they are the team you need to call to start building out these interconnected layers.
Highly recommend them.
They manage everything from heavy-duty commercial panic bars and maglock fire compliance to high-end smart lock integration, rekeying, and even 24/7 emergency car key replacements. Do not leave your facility's security to chance or outdated methodologies. Call the trusted experts serving all of Los Angeles at 310-295-4040.
To wrap up our deep dive today, this raises an important question. Building on a specific projection we found in the 2025 Locksmith Trend Report, the data highlighted
That is a phenomenal operational paradox to consider. Are we building highly intelligent fortresses that revert to completely open doors the second the grid goes down? Something to think about. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. It's been an absolute privilege analyzing these systems with you. Keep pressure testing the infrastructure you rely on, and we will see you next time.